Hey copper nerds, you guys know all about how much I love my 1823 restrikes. I was just out at the A&A and got to handle the restrike dies again, so I'll toss a couple of more photos in there for you to enjoy. And then I also upgraded my N-2 at the coin show, but this thing is grungy. Let's go take a look at it. This one's kind of a blue ribbon special. When it was in the 2x2, there was oil actually on the film when I pulled it off, and just sort of, the coin was wet. So somebody took the time to put blue ribbon or some other coin oil on this, but not to conserve off all the gunk and junk that's sort of everywhere. But, you know, it's an upgrade for me for this tough variety, so let's see what we can do with it. So this is definitely just, been covered in oil or blue ribbon and slapped in a 2x2, and no conservation was done before that. So what I'm gonna do is take a little bit of acetone here, put it in a dish, a glass dish, because many plastics will melt with acetone. We're gonna set the coin in there, swish it around a little bit, and give it a few minutes to work. I'll be right back. So that's been soaking a little bit. I'm working on fluffing up the end of a Q-tip here. I was hoping that might just dissolve off from swishing around. And, a lot of the conservationists say that you shouldn't be applying, you shouldn't be using a Q-tip or anything on the surface. And perhaps if this was a higher grade coin, I would take that a bit more to heart. But from what I am seeing, I've just got black junk that's going to be stuck to the surface unless I use this Q-tip to work on it a little bit. So, very fluffy Q-tip, and I'm just going to work it around a little bit and see if that black junk is going to come off. I was really hoping to avoid any mechanical work. I might employ a toothpick. A toothpick will scratch copper. You need to keep that in mind. I want to be careful not to damage this coin, meaning I want to be careful not to displace any metal. I'm less concerned about the actual color on the coin. It seems to be holding up pretty well to the acetone, but even if it didn't, this isn't a pristine coin, I wouldn't be opposed to taking some time to help it recolor if it cleans up a little bit or shines up a little bit during this process. What I don't want is to leave this black junk on there and then have corrosion grow underneath of it. I'm also not seeing much coming off on my Q-tip, which is concerning. So I'm gonna let it soak a little bit longer, and then we will check back in. Well, let's see how we're doing here. Yeah, there we go. That little extra soak seemed to help over there. You'll note that I am having to apply a little bit of pressure with this Q-tip. Not a lot, but that star there seemed to clean up a little bit. I think it's going to need more time. I don't know what this black stuff is, but it's hanging on pretty good. I do think it's going to come though. I don't want to do too much mechanical work here. I'm just going to add a little more acetone because I've soaked a good bit of it off on my Q-tip, and we're going to let it keep on going. Let's have another look. And pro tip that I'm not doing myself, a little baby food jar with a lid is a good idea because this stuff does evaporate pretty quick. All right. It's definitely still black stuff. Is it gonna loosen up at all? Here, fireworks outside. It's the 4th of July. I don't know when I'll get this up, but that's what's happening today. It's probably been half an hour, maybe a little better. We're getting a good bit of stuff that is coming off. It's the lighter stuff that I'm seeing going away, but I'm gonna keep just doing a little bit of light action with the Q-tip here. Full disclosure, it's certainly possible that you will see hairlines underneath a microscope after this kind of a treatment. So do as little as you can in terms of pressure. I'm just very lightly as I can apply the acetone while still moving just a little tiny bit of grime if it is ready to come off. There's no scrubbing, I'm not pushing hard. And I'm just gonna let it soak longer. Patience, patience, I need to learn that, so we'll give it some more time to soak and check back in later. Okay, we've been going some hours here. My acetone's evaporated down quite a bit. I'm gonna take a look at things here for a second, and I'm using my Bellomo triplet 10 power loop, which I absolutely love. It's fantastic glass. I like it more than the Bausch & Lomb. I forgot it when I went to the A&A last week and had to buy a little junker at the gift shop, so I had something, but glad to be back to this thing and not that garbagey gift shop one. Okay. And I just assumed this was grease and grime when I bought the coin and not like corrosion. And it does still appear to me to just be grease and gunk and grime. It's just very stubborn, like really baked in there. It's built up on the surface. It looks like tar almost. This might be some gnarly stuff. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna poke it with a toothpick, but I'm not gonna work the whole coin or anything like that. I'm just gonna find a really thick spot of it and just sort of touch it with this toothpick and see what it does. I'm gonna soak it again for a second here. And then I'm just gonna look and see if my toothpick displaced any of that crap. If I can figure out which star I was at. That's a scratch, but not from me. It's kind of deep. Yes. Yes, I can see where I moved a little bit of the crap. I'm going to do it again just to sort of confirm. And then if that's going to be what needs to be done, I can see it coming off on the toothpick. It's black. Then I'll probably be underneath of magnification very carefully working at just the stuff. This is important. Listen to what I'm saying here. I'm gonna work on the stuff. I'm not gonna be scuffing the coin or the surface of the coin. I'm not planning on touching metal. What I'm planning on doing is just breaking this crap up a little bit and then soaking it again. But I think right now it is just too built up and protected based on its depth. I mean, around the stars, they're at the height of the devices. That I don't think that an acetone soak is going to work, at least not very efficiently. So I'm just gonna be doing a little bit of that, again, under magnification. We're not gonna be able to do that live, I don't think. I can do a little bit of it right now because I can see it plain as day. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just touching the gunk. I'm not going through the gunk. I'm just trying to get the top of it just a little bit roughed up so that the acetone will take a little bit more. But I'm not interacting with anything that's metal directly. You also have to be careful that you don't push the junk across the coin anywhere. And I do see a couple little hairlines right above the cap where I have been nowhere near that was already there. But this coin's also damaged. You see that right there? And it's slightly bent. But these 1823 N-2s are very difficult to find, and I got them to pair up with my restrikes just because they all came off of the same obverse die. And this is significantly nicer than my other one, particularly in terms of detail. Being bent isn't ideal, but I paid a price accordingly. These get very expensive. I got this in Colorado Springs from coin dealer named Chick. If you know Chick, he's always got a bunch of stuff. And my son Kane bought some coins from Chick last year, at least one. And then I got this one from him this year. Yeah, that's about as much as I can do without magnification, where I'm just very obviously just kind of touching the gunk. So I'm gonna soak it back up here and keep an eye on it. I haven't done anything to the back other than soaking and Q-tipping, but let's let it go a little longer. All right, so evaporation is a very significant issue. I have not really been using acetone beyond just sort of dousing the surface with a fluffy Q-tip, but for soaking, you really need a sealed container. This soaked down until the acetone evaporated off. There's still, oh, I burned the shit out of myself. I was barbecuing with my dad, and I was holding the pan with one hand and something else with the other hand, and he set a piece of chicken down that tipped over onto my thumb while it was still like literally on fire. So yeah, that's fresh. Anyway, that evaporated down. This morning I got up and tossed a little more acetone in there, and then went and visited my mommy, and she gave me a jar. A baby food jar would be ideal, but we don't have any babies around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna put this in enough acetone to keep her well covered with a lid, and I'm honestly gonna let it go for, I'll check on it every now and again, but it could be hours, could be days, could be weeks, and then we'll check back in. All right, copper nerds, I pulled this out just to check on it. It's been about, I'd call that 2 days. Yeah, it's been about 2 days since I checked in with you last. There's still plenty of the black stuff there, but what I think I'm going to do is see if a little bit of coin care oil will soften that up, and then it is going to go back into the acetone. I just got this stuff. I've always used Bluebo, and don't overuse this stuff. And again, not everyone, a lot of people that are professionals will tell you to leave your coins dry, but I figure I'm going to try out some of this coin care and see what it does. All right. Man, I don't like how that's in a gigantic, wide mouth. Weird. Okay, very clear in color. Blue ribbon is a dark color. We just used some the other day, like old school blue ribbon. Stuff's actually pretty impressive. You can't get it anymore, but. All right, just all heavy on the surface there. See if that does anything. If I just touch, again, not the surface of the coin, but sort of the top of that junk. Oh, sorry, I'm off camera. Like right there. It seems like it's probably displacing it a little bit. I think that there has been a significant reduction in the volume of the crap that we were seeing on the coin. It's hard to focus when I have it up this high, but yeah, in these areas, there's a lot less of it built up. But I was just kind of checking out some of that. It seems like it's gonna be working a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this just sort of sit here with some oil on it for a couple of minutes, just to let that soak a little bit as much as it's going to. And I'm gonna toss it back in the acetone. I just think that might loosen it up a little bit so the acetone can work a little deeper. And I'm just gonna sort of blot that in heavy with my fingers. I didn't put any on the reverse. I guess while we're at it, I can do that as well. Another little dip. Man, I don't know if I'm gonna like this bottle. I don't want to say for sure that I don't like it, but man, if that tips over, it's just gonna come pouring out. Whereas in the Bluebo, it wouldn't. You know, it's got sort of a insert that makes it just give you a drop at a time. Okay, so good and oily. And then once it's just soaked in a little bit, I'm gonna acetone that off and toss it back in there. I don't want to just toss it back in because I don't necessarily want to have all that oil mixed in with my acetone. I'd imagine that that will reduce its effectiveness a little bit. And acetone off some of that oil. Yep, you can see it's getting dry. Next Q-tip. Fluff, fluff. This video is going to be too long, you guys. I'm sorry. But I'm just going through the process with you. We're learning together. That's how I roll. Again, I'm not a expert or a professional. I am a collector and a student, and I just enjoy learning stuff with y'all. And there's really nobody else out there who's doing this kind of thing where we just screw around together on my coins. You will notice that the toning has lightened a little bit on this one. Not a lot. It's not like it's raw or anything, but it's a little less dark brown than it was when we started. Definitely more of a tan. And that's okay. We have ways to help restore some of that color. And we'll talk about that a little bit at some point. I'm still doing some experimenting because I don't want to give you anything that I can't at least say I've tried out firsthand. Okay. So that's the update. So we'll come back when that's a little less messed up and talk about this one some more. For now, back in the drink. Catch you soon. So this is just a quick update. It's been several weeks, maybe a month, and I pulled this out yesterday working on this other coin just to take a look, and a lot of the buildup is gone, and what's replaced it is this sort of green, powdery looking halo effect on the devices, where there had been actual black, tarry, built up junk. That's just damage there, but it's got sort of some of that color inside of it as well. It's just damage. Whatever the buildup was is down inside of that crack, which again is damage. But one thing I noticed, I was worried about that. I'll also note that the coloration may be a touch lighter, but it's not raw or anything. It's substantially what it was, just with contaminants removed. It looks like probably the high points on the head are lighter than the rest. That's likely the last place that it had been cleaned before whatever period of toning it had had before this conservation. I'm gonna put a little bit of oil on it just to show you that whatever that green powdery stuff is, it just goes away. So, you see all that green powdery stuff? When I put oil on the surface, it sort of turns black and does not look unnatural. And that's a good looking coin still, where before it was covered in that massive black buildup, which has been reduced down to sort of powder. But this now we see the side I haven't oiled as a reminder. I'm gonna let it go a little bit longer, a little bit of black there, and there was a little bit of black buildup still in these stars up here. So I'm gonna give it, weeks, months, I don't care how long, until all that black stuff comes off.